I think a lot of us have maybe a skewed definition of peace based on what social media may say.
Very
But
valid.
peace is literally the ability to hold both the fighter and the feeler at the same time. And so there's this like really, really terrible messaging that's going around on social media on you don't need to deal with people's stuff. Well, no, actually, it's not people's stuff, it's your own stuff.
The content presented in this podcast and YouTube show is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the guidance of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding your health or a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard or seen on this show. If you think you may have a medical emergency, call your doctor or emergency services immediately. The host, guests, and producers of this show are not responsible for any adverse effects resulting from your use of or reliance on any information presented.
Andrea, can you hear us?
Many years ago, I died for 26 seconds. There are so many people in this world that have experienced life events that have led to their soul purpose. Wake Up Your Soul with Andrea will bring you these significant life events that demonstrate how to use those moments for guidance and life purpose. These are our stories.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Wake Up Your Soul with Andrea. Today's guest is Ektha Aggarwal, and she's here to talk to us about that messy middle when you're going through the spiritual awakening. So let's welcome Ektha. Hi,
Hi.
how are you?
It's so nice to be here and to have a conversation with you today, Andrea.
This is going to be a great conversation because I know a lot of people are seeking answers to this, and you're a psychotherapist. So obviously, you're very well versed in being able to answer these questions. But also, you've been through the messy middle yourself. This isn't just like, oh, I read it in the textbooks and this is what I'm supposed to teach my clients, right?
Absolutely. As a South Asian immigrant, a Muay Thai fighter, a CEO who realizes that I am a high functioning person. And that's just literally a fancy word for someone who's deeply suppressed. I'm kind of crazy saying this out loud as a psychotherapist, as you said. But, I just woke up one day and I realized I am so far from finding what we call peace. A bit about my background. I was born in Tanzania and I was raised in the grit of this like immigrant dream and taught that silence and safety was what it was all about. And as a brown girly, that was my armor. And I grew up with this concept in Hinduism called log kya kahenge. And essentially translates into what will people say? And that was my North Star. So, with that in mind, I built 3 businesses, including a nonprofit, and I was this, like, perfect daughter in the eyes of my parents. But 6 years later, I just found and just in alignment with COVID when we were just all isolated, I found my soul was screaming. I just felt like I was broken, I felt like I was alone, I felt like I was dying, and in hindsight today, when I look back, I realize obviously I wasn't dying, but I was finally, finally meeting the woman underneath the mask. And when you've learned to wear that mask for so many years and that mask is coming off, it's a pretty brutal, messy, and wildly painful experience.
Yeah. And I think some people wonder, like, what is a spiritual awakening for starters, right? And for me, and you can correct me if you have a different definition, but it's just like you're saying, it's finding yourself and finding your purpose and who you really are and coming to this awakening point of really understanding what is life to you and what is the meaning of all this that we're doing day in and day out. And yeah, it gets really messy. And I think everybody goes through this at some point in their life where you just stand there looking in the mirror and you don't see what you feel. Does that make sense? Where like
Oh
you
my
look in the
gosh.
mirror and like you feel like what you see is what everybody else sees, but you're like, "But that's not how I feel." It's a weird feeling. I can't even explain that.
Yeah, you kind of feel foreign in your own body a little bit and you don't recognize the person that you're seeing.
Yeah, because you feel a different way, but others are perceiving you in another way. It's just and it gets messy, right? And so do you have a different definition though of spiritual awakening?
Do I love it. So a lot of people believe that when you're going through a spiritual awakening, you are breaking down. And in so many ways, it can absolutely feel like that because you are shedding.
Sure.
And a reframe that I love to use is you're not actually breaking down, you're breaking through.
Mhm.
And when you see it in that way, almost like you're going through a birthing canal, when you're breaking through, you're leaving behind all that mess, all that chaos, and all the echo from behind and moving into a new vibration. And when you are going through that canal of breaking through, that integration phase that you're in is shifting. And when you're describing yourself looking into that mirror, not recognizing who you are, but still seeing, like, oh, I know who that person is. I just
Yeah.
don't relate to that. That's the integration phase, right? That's the part of you of, oh, that's my old self, but I'm shifting into this new self. There's this disconnect that's happening. And
Mhm.
so you're shifting into this new version.
Yeah.
And many people in society, we don't really recognize what this integration phase is. And we think that, oh gosh, am I really changing? Am I not? What's happening with my
Or
purpose?
am I doing the right thing, right? If it feels so messy and if it really feels like things are falling apart, it makes you question, am I really doing the right thing? It shouldn't be this hard. I think people say that a lot, right? Like, it shouldn't be this hard. Life should be easier. Maybe I'm just doing the wrong thing. But I agree, like things are gonna get a
Yeah.
little bit messy before they get really good. And it's how it is.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, in a spiritual awakening, that's when you're literally putting your warrior to rest. For so many of us, it's like do, 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 that when we go through a spiritual awakening, we're finally, for the very first time, starting to be. So that warrior, when it's resting, it's actually collapsing because it hasn't even had a chance to rest before. So that collapse can feel exhausting. And for your nervous system, that's probably one of the first few times your nervous system is actually like breathing. And
Mhm.
so that looks like a lot of tears that were not shed before, shedding now. It feels like a lot of anger that wasn't expressed before, being expressed now. A lot of generational trauma that didn't come out. It's all being expelled at this time. And it can feel really loud.
How do you tell people to calm their nervous system when they're going through all of this? Because I think that's a really big thing that people are seeking is also like, how the heck do I get through this then? Like, how do I calm my nervous
Yeah.
system?
Yeah, I think the first thing I would say is before you can calm the nervous system, you have to actually allow the nervous system to express itself.
Mm,
When you are in that do, 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 or warrior phase, you're always suppressing the nervous system because you are technically in survivor mode.
mhm.
And when you are having a spiritual awakening, you're no longer in survivor mode, you are in the flow state. And
Okay.
so your nervous system is finally getting permission to express itself so it can move into the next phase,
Okay,
which is your
so
higher
so it's
self.
kind of things like let yourself cry, let yourself
Yeah.
scream, let yourself be mad, like let it through before you can calm it down. Don't just try to calm down the internal frustration, let it out and then work on calming.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And
Yeah.
part of that is the understanding that this in between phase, the spiritual awakening phase, is where identity is starting to die and the
Mhm.
soul is starting to be born,
I love
right? And so
that.
the nervous system, that is part of our identity.
Yeah.
Right? So allow it to express itself fully so it can be put to rest. So don't try to regulate it until it's actually been expressed.
Okay. Yeah.
And then once it's expressed, my number one thing is please acknowledge it. A lot of times people try to distract it. People try to cope by, suppressing it. But take a minute and acknowledge it. If a child is crying, you're not going to be like, shh. The
Yeah.
first thing is to say, oh, my poor little one, what's going on?
Yeah.
Talk to me.
Yeah.
Talk to you as if you're that little child and acknowledge that part of you that you've just gone through something massive right now.
Mhm.
And as soon as you do that self talk, that mirror talk, your body is naturally going to calm down.
Mhm.
I would say that's the fastest, quickest, easiest way, but we all bulldoze over the fastest, quickest, easiest way, sadly enough.
Yes, this is true. So I know a question that a lot of people have is why am I losing friends when they're going through this spiritual awakening? They think like, here I am trying to make myself a better person. I'm trying to get in alignment with who I've always felt I am, that sort of thing. And then they start losing friends. Like, why is this? But do you want to start? Because I know you have a personal story. You wanna share your personal story
Yeah.
and then answer the question? Because I actually have not heard the whole personal story, so I do wanna hear it.
Sure.
Okay.
I would say the price of your new life is very much your old one. And what I mean by that is I had a best friend of 20 years and we like typical best friend. We dreamt each other's weddings up. We would pull up our notes section and write down who our maid of honor and bridesmaids would be, what we would she's sharing our speeches. Every time we had a memories, like, oh, that's going in the speech. Every time we'd have a funny moment, we'd pull out our notes and put it in the speech section. We were very close. And by that, I mean like during COVID, it was like 24 hours. We were like texting when we'd have sleepovers. Yes, we had adult girly sleepovers, and it was the cutest thing in the world. We'd
Mm,
wake up in the middle of the night and have full blown conversations and then pass out again. And it was just the purest, most deepest friendship ever.
mhm.
Yeah, I'm just like recalling so many beautiful memories. And we had planned each other's weddings out. And somehow, she got married and I kind of just got X'd out of her wedding. And for full transparency, all of her friends got X'd out. So it wasn't that I was being called out in a certain way. It just sounded like she just didn't want any of her friends involved. Fine, whatever. My little dream of being there for her as her best friend didn't happen, but that's okay. I wanted her there for mine. And so I still got to have that dream.
Okay.
She got married, she ended up getting divorced, and I was there for her during the sleepless nights, the difficulty of divorce.
Yeah.
And, divorce takes a toll on you, especially when you believe in this forever after.
Sure.
And so she gained weight, she didn't like her job, she lost her friends. It was just hard. It broke her down. And I'm a very glass half full because I'm going through this spiritual awakening and I'm in this flow state.
Yeah.
So I'm providing energy healing, I'm taking her on walks, I'm doing all these things. And she's so receptive and open to it. One day she moves, I help her move, and our communication's gone. Mind you, we're talking 15 to 20 times a day. I'm seeing her 3 to 4 times a week in person. And I'm a little confused, thinking, oh, maybe she's just unpacking.
Mhm.
And I ask her, hey, are we okay? She's like, yeah, I'm just busy. Okay, cool. A
Mm.
week goes by, 2 weeks go by. Now it's a month, and I'm on this first date. And somehow this guy asks me something that brings me back to this friendship. And I start talking about this woman I love. And I burst out crying on this first date. How embarrassing, first of all. But I realized it triggered my mother wound. I grew up in a family where my mom was deeply wounded by her own mother and didn't have a mom growing up. And so she kind of intergenerationally passed that on unconsciously. So I've always craved female friendships, but I've always found females just kept leaving my life, including my own mom.
Mm.
And so this man's like, Go call her and tell her you miss her and you love her. Cause I'm like
Date's
bawling on
over.
this. Yeah. So I call her and she's like, I don't understand why you're crying. Friendships just change. It's not a big deal. And I felt wildly dismissed and
Yeah.
as if I'm crazy. And, I think
Okay, but let me say, that does seem wild to just be like, she just didn't care. I mean, that's how I'd feel a little bit like, wow, like
yeah.
your idea of the relationship was very different than her idea, I guess, right? I mean,
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to now it's been so many years. It's hard to say that. I think when you go through the spiritual awakening, you realize that when you're no longer the fixer, when you're no longer being the person that that person needs you to be, the way they want you to be, those
yeah.
friendships change and it becomes really, really lonely. You start to wake up one day and you stop playing their role.
Yeah.
And so much of me was like fixing things, right? Doing things the way that she wanted to, commiserate in the ways that she needed me to. And when I decided I no longer want to sit in the sad, I no longer want to sit in men are terrible and divorces end all. And I want to see the glass is half full, then that fixer starts to feel abandoned
Mhm.
and they start to drop off. And this is where that spiritual awakening starts to feel lonely, right? Because you're starting to vibrate on a different level.
Mhm.
And so people don't meet you there anymore and they start to drop off.
Mhm. And I think it's
Right.
okay. We have to realize that, they're gonna drop off, but that space will be filled with somebody else that's at the same level as us, so we're gonna be so much happier, but in the meantime, it doesn't feel great.
No, no. And the irony is that your growth is a giant mirror for them. They're just not ready to face it. And that is okay. That is
Yeah.
okay. You've already planted that seed.
Yeah.
And your light in your own spiritual awakening illuminates so bright that at some point it's going to bring people into that vibrational cortex.
So the question we had talked about was, when you're going through all this and you're having these struggles with a relationship, do you repair it or do you release it? And I feel like you've already answered that, but
Yeah.
you got
Yeah.
anything else you wanna say?
Yeah. I've been thinking about this a lot, and I would say repair is for those people who want to sit in the fire with you, and release is for those who only like you and want to keep you around when you're kind of cool with them. And I use this as a decision tree with a lot of my clients. And what I mean by that is repair with the person who says, I don't understand what you're going through, but I want to understand.
Mhm.
And there's this sense of shared understanding and this willingness that this new you, although I don't get it, I'm open to understanding it. So
Yeah.
that to me, that's a repair. Now, a release is you've changed. And there's this like an illusion of judgment. It's like you're too much now. That's
Yeah.
that's kind of weird. They're dimming your light. That to me is a release. I
Let's
recently had a friend, actually a really good friend too. Gosh, second female friendship. And she didn't come to this like big event that I had. And she apologized. And I was like, listen, and she apologized and she was like, I couldn't afford it. And she was like, you should have given me a free ticket. And I was like, well, it was a nonprofit event. I couldn't do that. She's like, "Well, let's agree to disagree." I'm like, "That doesn't work for me. I'd love to talk about it." She's like, "Well, I don't have the bandwidth."
oh,
Okay, that's done.
okay.
So then I was like, "Well, I'm happy to wait. I love friendships where we can have difficult discussions and move through it together." And she's like, "Well, I don't think that I can do that. This is probably why you don't have a lot of female friendships." That to me is a release because it's an attack on my vulnerability, right? Because I did disclose to her,
Yeah.
"Hey, I struggle with a mother wound and I struggle with female friendships." And she
Yeah.
used that as a jab, right?
Oh, yeah.
Ooh,
I know, I'm
yeah.
like, okay.
Yeah. And that's okay. There's no judgment. It just shows that when you're going through a spiritual awakening, people are vibrating on a different level.
What do you think, though, going back to your situation with your friend, you think clearly your friend thought, I need to release her. Like, she's too much for me. Like, she thought
Mhm.
that you were maybe, like you're saying, your glass was just too full. You were not wanting to commiserate with
Mhm.
her anymore. And it's just like, this is not the friendship I want. And she probably felt like you were constantly trying to bring her up. And she's just like, leave me alone. I want to sit where I'm at. Do you
Mhm.
feel like you should have tried to repair? Or like, what do you think was right in that situation for you, a repair or a release?
Yeah. I will tell you, Andrea, I tried to repair for 3 years. Not because that was probably the right or wrong thing to do, but because I love that girl deeply and I still miss her till today
Yeah.
and think about her. And there's so much research out there that female friendships and the heartbreak between that is sometimes even stronger than a heartbreak between romantic relationships. And the pain that you feel in your body physically feels like as if your body has had an arm or a leg physically cut out. That's the pain that your body goes through. And I apologize. I asked for what I did wrong. I called every 6 months. I left her voicemails. And now every year I just send her a happy birthday message. And just, I am not trying to repair anymore. I have released, but I give love every year on her birthday because I still think about her and I still love her.
Was she tell you
So,
happy birthday?
no, but
Oh, wow.
because I've released, there's no expectation.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, us women, we are crazy. We're I mean, I am not gonna pretend that we are like, we get emotional and sensitive and, I'm actually pretty level-headed, but I can recognize that women, we are interesting creatures, we really are, and so it can be difficult to maintain female friendships, I definitely think
Yeah.
that, and it doesn't even matter necessarily how level-headed you are, if the other person isn't as well, that sometimes is even harder where it's like, "You're not thinking clearly," you know?
No,
And
not at all. Yeah.
yeah,
But, I will say just as a vote to women, when we are portals bringing spirit into matter, we've gotta be a little bit crazy, right?
yeah,
We hold a massive container here
yeah,
in our
oh,
bodies.
yeah,
So, I get it.
yeah.
I get it.
So, do you wanna talk about the other question I wanted to talk to you about on this episode was anxiety. People wanna go through this awakening because they feel like, "Okay, if I figure out who I am, what I'm doing with my life, all of that," they think that, "Okay, the anxiety will calm within me," because you're probably feeling anxious. "I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I don't know who I am," or all these things. There's things we can be anxious about, right? And so we
Mhm.
think that when we start to come home to ourselves and understand our purpose and the meaning that all of this will just calm down, but it often can get worse. And so I know people wonder, "So why? Why is it worse?"
Mhm. Yeah, it kind of goes back to what we talked about a little bit earlier. When you put that warrior to rest, that's probably one of the first few times your nervous system is finally getting a chance to express itself. So
Mhm.
it's the floodgates are all opening up. And a lot of times, that is the first time your anxiety is getting a chance to fully express itself. And a lot of people forget that anxiety is not only just an emotional expression, it's a physical expression.
Yes.
So that can look like heart palpitations, that can look like sweating, that can look like panic attacks, that can look like trembling. A lot of people have a lot of hair fallouts, changes in hormones during this time. And doctors can't explain it medically, and so they send them to clinicians for therapy, and it is a manifestation of a
Mhm.
spiritual awakening, and you're having a emotional expression of it.
Mhm.
And we at Shakti Therapy, we love to use somatic therapy. A lot of times traditional talk therapy is limiting because we try to use words to explain what's happening. And sometimes there's just no words to
Okay.
express what your body is holding. And so
Mhm.
somatic therapy is using the body to express and release what the words don't have the
Okay.
ability to do.
Do you have a quick exercise that you share with people, or is this the one you wanna share at the end?
This is the one I would love to share at the end.
Okay.
But I do have another one that I can share that's
Okay.
very easy to do.
Okay.
One of the things that I do a lot is this idea between the masculine and feminine
Yes.
energy.
Mhm.
And it's this duality. When we talk about the warrior energy, we talk about do, do, do. It's very masculine
It
energy.
is.
It's this idea of control. When you're going through a spiritual awakening, all you want to do is control everything because you feel like you're losing control. And when you're anxious, it is that idea of, oh my goodness, I'm losing control.
Yeah.
But the best thing you can do in that moment is actually release control and allow the body to take over. This is the whole concept of go where the pain is be in flow state. Let yourself be. And so this is a breathing exercise with intentionality. And every time I inhale, I love to inhale desire, like truly like juicy, juicy desire. And I'm like savoring in exactly what I want. And when I'm exhaling all the control and the inability to actually have that desire.
Okay.
Does that make sense, what
Yeah.
I'm trying to say?
I mean, I'm a
Yeah.
little woo-woo, so some
Yeah,
people
okay, great. Great. And so when I was, single, what I was doing was I was, like, inhaling this, like, beautiful romantic relationship, I was smiling, and when I was exhaling, it was this idea of, "It's not with me, it's okay, and I'm fine just not having it." And you can see even, like, my body feels a little collapsed,
Yeah.
but almost like I'm okay. I'm okay it collapsing because I know I'm gonna just, like, inhale that desire again.
Mhm.
And moving into that, not only are you incorporating breath, but that intentionality of feminine, masculine is shifting your body and your nervous system. And when you're inhaling, you want to try to inhale as if you're inhaling into your spine, and the collapse allows the prefrontal cortex to rest down. So
Mhm.
there's also like a whole nervous system shift that's happening inside of your body at the same time.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing people need is, like, that nervous system calming
Reset.
when they're going
Yeah.
yeah, when you're going through all of this because it happens in various ways, right? We can be struggling with our awakening when it comes to a job or when it comes to a marriage or just finances, like, it can affect us in so many ways, and how do people keep the peace when they're going through all that? Is it just doing the somatic release or how do they find peace in their lives when they're still so worried?
Yeah.
Like they're going through it and they know they're headed in the right direction.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's so difficult.
Mhm. I want to maybe define peace for everyone for a second.
That's
Peace,
important.
yeah, I think a lot of us have maybe a skewed definition of peace based on what social media may say.
Very
But
valid.
peace is literally the ability to hold both the fighter and the feeler at the same time. Have you seen that comic where there's the dog holding his coffee and the house is burning down?
No, I haven't.
No? Okay, so, the house is burning down, he's sitting at the dining table in this burning house, and he's drinking the coffee, and the comic says, "This is just fine, I'm just okay," and he's, like, sipping his coffee, and that makes me laugh and chuckle because he's holding the fighter and the feeler at the same time, and to me, that is peace. It is very much that internal process when chaos is around you. So,
Mhm,
it's not the bubble bath when peace is around you and when things are calm, but it's literally when you're on the 405 freeway, everyone's honking, and you're able to maintain that feeling while the fighter's around you,
mhm.
right? And so that's the practice of peace.
Mm,
Can you maintain both states
yeah.
in alignment?
Do you want to talk about social media a little bit? Because you mentioned it right now, and we started talking about it a little bit before we were filming. And I know social media is something that definitely plays into just people's
Yeah.
ability to have this awakening. I think there's
Yeah.
conceptions and there's skewed ideas on what it all means and how we get there.
Yeah. I would love to. I think we are moving into a very interesting world
Yeah.
where We're moving into a very interesting world. I have a lot of feelings and emotions around this, as you can tell, where
I'm here for it.
people are putting the brakes and the pauses on everything, and they're no longer having difficult conversations anymore or sitting in discomfort anymore. And everything on social media is just say no, don't trauma dump on me. I don't want to feel this way. Right. But what's happening is it's going over the top and we're no longer sitting in anything that's uncomfortable.
Mm.
And when that's happening, all we're doing is sitting in upper level emotions, joy, love, excitement.
Well,
Well,
and I always talk about too, when you're mentioning uncomfortableness, I always talk about how, like, if people are looking for growth, you have to get uncomfortable because if you are comfortable, why are you comfortable? Because it's familiar, because it's the known, right? Like, you cannot have growth if you just keep living in the known. So that is super important. But anyway, keep going.
you nailed it. You nailed it. And so anytime you tell that friend, I don't want to deal with your stuff, I don't want to have that difficult conversation, what are you avoiding?
Mhm.
And what are you avoiding growing from? Right?
Yeah.
The only person you're hurting is actually yourself.
Mhm.
Right? And so I think you just nailed it on the spot. And so there's this like really, really terrible messaging that's going around on social media on you don't need to deal with people's stuff. Well, no, actually, it's not people's stuff, it's your own stuff. Like you're avoiding your own stuff by not having those difficult conversations, by not addressing the challenging emotions that are coming up inside of you.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one piece, and then I think the other piece is we're so overstimulated.
Mhm.
Ideation has gone down dramatically, and there's research that ideation actually is generated through boredom, but we're not bored anymore. We're on screens. We rest through TV, we rest through cell phones, we rest through going to movies, on laptops.
Yeah.
That now there's our mind isn't still. It's just dopamine after dopamine after dopamine after dopamine. That there's no
It's
moment to
really
breathe.
I know, and it's really frightening because I see there's just such a want for instant gratification with the younger generations because everything is so instantaneous and it like, I don't know, I wanna be like this old lady that's just like, "Oh, well, your generation," because I feel like, we all heard that from our parents, like, "You kids don't understand, when I was your age," It's not like that, but really, there are some problems, and there were problems when I was a kid, and there's problems for my kids, and there were problems when my parents were kids, right? And it's evolution. However, I don't know if we're trending in the right direction for mankind.
Yeah. Yeah. Right there, the feeling feels very mutual.
Yeah,
So
it's yeah. Well, okay. Do you have any other thoughts on this messy middle and I don't know. Do you have any other stories you could share to help people understand and feel less alone and know that, I mean, really, the messy middle is very normal for everybody?
yeah, yeah, I absolutely love it. When I think about that, a lot of times when we think about losing friends, you're never really losing them. You actually are outgrowing the frequency of the silence. And something I like to think about when I think about this messy middle is in collectivist cultures, loyalty often means sameness. And what that idea is when you are changing, it's kind of seen as betrayal of the tribe historically. So losing friends is often an initiation fee for entering into your own authenticity. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh. Interesting.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
that's something I kind of keep in mind that when I'm like shedding my skin as we move out of the year of the snake, it's literally I'm shedding a version of me that no longer is serving me. And as I'm moving into this new version, my light's gonna attract a new type of tribe,
Mhm.
right? And the people who are meant to be with you, they're gonna move on with you, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And so I think that kind of gives me a little bit of peace that I kind of carry on with me. And I hope that people out there take that with them.
Yeah.
And the other piece that I would share that helps is have a board of life. For nonprofits, we have a board of directors who advise us. And last year, I created a board of life, and it has been a game changer for me. There's a spiritual person on there who guides me on my life. There is a therapist on there who guides me on my emotions. There is a business person who guides me. There is a person who is a dear friend who looks out for me. And then there's a person in my finances. And these are all people who guide me on my life. But we never think about having a board of life. And that has been a wild game changer.
Mhm.
That way, you're getting multiple perspectives when you are going through your spiritual awakening, and it's not just one perspective.
Yeah.
The last piece I will share is your body holds the prescription for your healing, and you get to trust your body. Your intuition is your greatest gift.
Mhm.
So, when you don't know what to do, close your eyes and just look within. When you're ready, I have a practice that I can guide us through as well.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Go for it.
Wonderful. So I call this the ghost breath cord cutting practice. And what cord cutting means is it's this idea that everyone has genetic cords that build between one another. When you are going through a spiritual awakening, you ideally want to cut cords between you and people that you no longer connect with anymore and bring back parts of you that are with them and you just don't want it there
Mhm.
anymore. Your new identity, it's going to shift, but as you're shifting, your old identity is going to want to connect to all versions of you. We see this regularly in psychology, right? You take a changed person, but you put them back in the same environment, they're going to go back into the same version of
Hmm.
themselves.
Yeah.
You take an apple, you put it in a rotten basket, it's going to rot. So that philosophy is the same, even
Mhm.
energetically.
Mhm.
Okay. So the first thing,
I have something I wanna share, and I wanna hear your thoughts because I'm very open to hearing your thoughts, but I'm very spiritual and I have these special gifts, but when I had one of my mentors, she had said, "You don't want to cut cords because they can regrow." So she's like, "You want to actually just sever them, remove them, like, pull them out," sorta thing. So I'm curious if you have a thought on that.
oh, y-
Like, I
y-
had never thought about it really till she said that because I'd always been the same, like, I'm just gonna snip these cords and just, visualize it in that way, but then I was like, "Wow, like, you're right, like, I need to go down to the root of the cord and just
uh,
yank it out."
yeah, they can regrow. So that's 100% true. Anytime that person thinks of you, they regrow.
Mhm.
My understanding is even when you sever them, anytime they think of you, it still regrows.
Mm.
And so as a clinician, anytime a client's like, "Oh my gosh," and then I thought, "What would Ekta do?" In my head, the first thought is like, "Whoop, there's a cord." So I'm getting my cords cleaned every week.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, so I just clean every week no matter what, because my understanding is when there's a thought, the cord reattaches no matter what.
Hmm.
So I don't know. There might be multiple schools of thoughts there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
Mm.
it is good practice just to cord cut
Yeah.
regularly.
Yeah.
That's how I practice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the mudra. So the first thing you want to do is you want to just lock your fingers, and this is your thumbs are pointing up. And first, you're going to interlace your fingers this way,
What can I
and
do
then
this? I don't
you can do this. So this,
so then okay. I
how are we
don't
doing?
I do not have it, I don't think.
No,
I don't know.
no, no. Okay, okay. So turn your hands backwards. Yes, and
I'm
then
not
interlace.
intimidated. No, just kidding.
Yeah, you
Okay.
got it. You got it. You got it. You got it. And then connect the thumbs.
Okay.
Yes. And then
Okay.
you put them by your solar plexus.
Oh, okay. Wait, so my hands are just
Yes, yes,
Hmm.
yes.
Okay.
And then by your solar plexus.
Okay. Done.
Beautiful. And so the reason we put them by our solar plexus, this is what I call our Shakti. It's your primordial force. It is responsible for courage and change and all the beautiful things that happen. When we connect our thumbs, it links to our prefrontal cortex.
Okay.
So that's the reason we connect these.
Okay.
Okay. So that's part one. Okay, and then you wanna pull your eyes down and you want to inhale. When you're inhaling through your nose, and you wanna imagine as if you're inhaling from the back of your spine.
Okay.
So, if that's a hard way to imagine, imagine you're inhaling from the back of your heart. So, either of the 2.
Okay.
And what that's going to do is it's also going to connect right back to your prefrontal cortex.
Okay.
I'm gonna explain it and then we'll do it.
Okay.
Then when you're
Right, I'm like, "I'm ready, I'm ready."
and then when you're exhaling, you wanna have pursed lips, and you wanna feel like you're blowing down into the thumbs in a thin silver line as if you're aiming for the center of these thumbs.
Okay.
So it allows for direction and precision at that same time. Now, this is a part that activates the parasympathetic nervous system, and it slows down your heart rate
Okay.
because it's regulating your breathing.
Okay.
Okay. So let's try it together.
Ready.
Okay. Let's inhale and exhale in a straight line. One more time. Inhale and exhale in a straight line. Last time. Inhale and exhale in a straight line. Okay. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. You might feel slightly lightheaded, and that's absolutely okay. How did that
I feel
feel?
blinded by my ring light. I cannot see now.
Yeah. So this is one of my favorite tools of just recollecting your prana and your energy. And a lot of people ask when you cut cords, are you pushing people away? You're never pushing anyone away, but you're actually just cutting cords that no longer serve.
Yeah.
So you can never cut a cord that's actually serving for you, but you're just reclaiming what is yours. So you're calling back your own energy and you're activating your parasympathetic nervous system. So it's actually a nervous system reset and you're activating your prefrontal cortex. So a
Do
lot of
you
things are happening internally.
do you teach people how to cut cords? I feel like people are gonna listen and be like, "Well, how the heck do I cut a cord? What does this even mean?" I'm
Yeah.
sure like
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Is that something we want to do now?
Yeah, sure.
Sure. It's kind of easy.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
people think it's so complicated. So to cut cords, one, I really like to wash my hands with salt water.
O
So salt is energetically sanitizing. If
okay.
you just feel like you went into an environment and you just had bad juju and energy, just wash your hands with salt water.
Oh, interesting.
Energy is transferred through your hands and feet.
I carry a little roller of frankincense and myrrh in my purse, and so, like, I'll just, like, roll it on and, like, rub it all over.
That's
That's
amazing.
yeah, that's my like, if there's bad energy, then I'm like, oh, let me do that," and then I like to take a shower, like a whole body shower if it's real bad.
Yeah, 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 exactly, right, water is, like, fully cleansing, I
Yeah,
love
if
that.
I'm jumping in the pool and it's like, 11 AM, that's why. No. Mhm. Yeah.
So what I do, and I do this after every therapy session, I imagine I have light green gloves on, and there are these like massive knives. And all I do is literally I cut, and I try to cut on my spleen. That's where emotions are held, is
Okay.
where your spleen is. And I literally just cut. This is the idea of severing, by the way.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it has to be like a sharp knife, and you don't want to just be like gently cut. No,
Yeah.
you want to like sever it. And then I throw it in a purple fire.
Okay.
So it just disintegrates it all
Yeah.
together. And then you wanna make sure you, like, are literally throwing the gloves in the purple fire too.
I
I
like the
know.
gloves. That's a nice touch.
Yeah.
Never thought about my hands in it, like, and I've imagined it like, I don't know. I don't even know if they still make those little things. They, like, flip in and out like a they're, like, round, and they can flip in and out, and they can suction on a window, and then they pop. you invert them and then they like slowly start to go back the other way and then they pop
Yeah.
off the ground. I don't know
Yeah.
all those things. But I almost, like, imagine the suction like that where I'm like, where it's, like, sucked onto you, the cord, and I just kind of imagine it, like, popping off and sucking off of you like
Oh,
that.
I like that.
I don't know.
I how have you been taught to do it? Because I know you mentioned that you cord cut.
Yeah, it was more of the suctioning off, and I think I've been taught certain things in certain ways, and all the things I've learned, I've taken it on just however I feel like I imagine it and it should be, because I really think we all have different ways of doing it. Like, I worked with a psychic mentor who, like, explained how to do things, and it just consistently was not coming through to me in that way, but I was still able to do the work, and I'm like, "You know what? It's okay, Andrea. Like, it's okay. Just let it be how it's gonna be for you." So, yeah, so for me, I imagine the person that the cord is attached to, and I imagine, like I said, like, it's like the suction cup almost, and then, like, pulling that off, and same off of my own body so that there's no longer a cord on either person, and just taking that cord and just throwing it to an orange, normal looking fire to me, and then I
Ah.
get rid of it that way.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that great? There's so
Yeah.
many different ways. I love that.
Yeah, and I really think, I mean, if you ask anybody with spiritual gifts, right? Like, not everybody does it the exact same way, and if you feel like it's getting the job done, then that's all
Yeah.
that matters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
This
Absolutely.
episode got a lot more woo woo than I imagined. Did not plan that, yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Where can people find you if they wanna connect with you?
Yeah, yeah, I'm so active as much as we like
I
talk
know.
about social media. I'm so active on social media under Shakti Therapy. That's SHAKTI THERAP. Say hi. I put out so many free tips. So if anything, just follow, use the tips, take advantage of it. You can also always just check out my website, www.shaktitherapyhealing.com. We have lots of blog posts on how to manage the messy middle, how to get through the spiritual awakening, how to handle anxiety, how to deal with high functioning, perfectionism and whatnot. So
Yeah.
lots of different ways to just connect. And if anything, just say hi. We'd
That
love to
okay, that is a very
get it.
common thing. Do you have something you could say quickly on that? I feel like I'm definitely a comer for perfectionism.
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry. I missed your question. Say that again.
Do you have any quick tips then for somebody that's trying to overcome being a perfectionist or just how to, like, manage it a little bit better?
Oof. Yeah.
You're like,
Okay.
"Yeah, that's a whole 'nother day."
No, there's a lot. So I would say being a perfectionist is related to an anxious attachment style.
Okay.
That is my number one thing for you. So healing perfectionism is going to be about healing your anxious attachment style.
Hmm.
But I could do a whole episode with you on that.
Yeah,
I'm trying to
interesting.
think what is like a quick tip I could give you, but I don't know if it can be that quick.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. Yeah, all you perfectionists out there, we're just screwed. No, just kidding.
Oh, not at all. Not at all. There's so many advantages of it, right? Because 'Cause we're so detail oriented and get things done.
We do.
People rely on us. We just get burnt out,
Yeah,
It'll be
but we do a good job, a real good job.
we do.
Alright, well, thank you so much for being here.
This was so nice. Thank you for having me, Andrea.
Absolutely.